Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about VeChain. We're going to talk about some support and resistance levels. I'll show you what the VPVR is showing as well as where I have some bids placed here just in case over the next few weeks. And before we get started, if you do like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment. If I know you guys are liking this content, then I'm going to be more motivated to make more of these videos. So be sure to show your love, subscribe, like, and comment. That way I know you guys are really enjoying this content. All right, so looking at the VET daily time frame here, this is the past year, and it's no surprise that we've seen a sideways market, ever since the 28 cent top up here. So I know a lot of people are frustrated with VET because it has underperformed a lot of other coins, but just being honest with you guys, if we go back and look at the last year and a half to 2 years. So one thing I'm constantly reminded of is the fact that I was buying VET back here. Okay, when it was right below a penny, and I was averaging in through here, and I was then buying along this dip. Now I know everybody's different. Everybody got in at different prices. Some people bought even lower than me, and other people have been buying through this consolidation, and that's okay. But I guess my point is that instead of getting frustrated at the current price action, you also have to look at where a market has been, even just over the last 2 years. We're not talking about this, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This literally just happened a few months ago where we got this move up to 28 cents, a blow off top. And so it's going to take the market some time to recover from that. All right. It needs to build up a base again, and that's just going to take time. So it's been an incredible run for VET, really, because ever since the March 2020 low, this down here, this low to the top was about 17,000%, 17,000%. And I know a lot of cryptos are in the same boat, but you also can't dismiss that. All right, so that's my point. So I'll get off my soapbox though, and talk about the price now. So if we're talking about timing, right, because it's all about timing the market, and that goes back to, whether you bought lower or during this consolidation. So if we're talking about timing, for me, and I don't know if the market is going to go here, but if it does, I have buy orders set. And the area I'm talking about, looking at the weekly time frame, you can see that we have this August 2018 trend line. So this was the August 2018 low back here. And you can see where this trend line basically capped the entire bear market. So this trend line was critical during the bear market where VET formed this inverse head and shoulders of sorts. It then broke out here, retested that trend line. And this is when VET went from basically 3 cents all the way up to 28 cents. Now, obviously, since that time, we've had a lot of consolidation. So, at the moment, what I would be watching for is a retest of this trend line, which also happens to line up with a key horizontal area right around 6 cents. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if that's going to happen. And the only reason I say that is because to move down to 6 cents from current levels, it looks like it's close. However, if you look at this, it's actually about a 25% drop, I believe. So from current levels, down here to this area, it's about 25%. So that would be a big drop, from current levels. It would also put it below this recent low down here. And to be honest with you, looking at the way VET moves compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin would probably have to be testing 40,000, if not just below it, for VET to get down in that area. Now, if you missed yesterday's Bitcoin video, please be sure to go watch it because I do talk about a scenario there where, Bitcoin could test 40,000 here over the next few weeks. So this is more of a situation where I'm not calling for VET to be 6 cents. I'm not shorting the market, but I am saying that if we were to see a retest of this area down here around 6 cents, this confluence of support, then I do have orders set down here just in case, because you can see how critical this area has been here over the last year. All right, so that's the area I'm watching. Now, another thing I want to show you too, going back to the weekly time frame, is if we look at this, the volume here, all right, over the last few weeks, one thing that's interesting to me is that if you'll notice back here, during this downtrend, we had volume moving lower too. And that's what you want to see during a downtrend because it shows you that sellers are becoming exhausted. So when you get a really low volume reading like this at the bottom of a trend, that typically marks the bottom. And what we've seen so far over the past few weeks is price moving lower, and we've also seen the volume coming off. So, it doesn't indicate that we are at the bottom now, but it does tell me that we are getting very close. So I know that this week isn't over yet, but the odds of this week's volume being higher than last week are very slim, especially with the weekend coming up. So basically each week the volume is lower than the last one, and that's what you want to see during a downtrend. All right, so going back to the daily time frame, let's talk about a scenario where VET doesn't test that 6 cent area, and instead we already have a low back here on December 4th. All right, so in this scenario, we're talking about a move higher from the area where it is right now. And for that, what I would use is 8.8 cents. So this area right through here on the daily chart, you can see where 8.8 cents has been a pivot. It was support back here and then resistance. So if VET can reclaim 8.8 cents on a daily closing basis, then I do think we get that move higher. Now, how much higher? You can look back here and see that 10 cents is also going to be one to watch. So if we draw a level right here through 10.3 cents, then you can see back here, it was support, resistance, support through this area, and then support once again on this candle. So, basically what I would be watching for if VET doesn't move down here towards 6 cents, because again, remember that I do have a lot of bids down here in this area just in case. Okay, now if we don't get that move lower, if Bitcoin doesn't move back to test 40,000, then I would be looking for a reclaim of 8.8, get above this on a daily closing basis, flip that to support, and then for that move up toward 10.3 cents or so. So that's what I'll be watching for in the short term. But ideally, just looking at this chart, again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen because I don't know, nobody does. But, if we're going to get a higher crypto market in 2022, typically you need some type of technical catalyst. And for me, that would be a test of this trend line. So it would be seeing VET come back here toward this area, test it as support, and then we get that move higher in 2022. All right, because without that, we really don't have that hard reset that we would need to see higher prices next year. And one last thing too, let's talk about where the VPVR is. So I showed this yesterday in the Bitcoin video. I think that VPVR can be really helpful because it shows you the volume by price. So if we turn this on, what this indicates is, as I said, the volume by price. So basically the volume down here at the bottom of your chart shows you the volume by time. So in this case, we're looking at a daily time frame. So each one of these bars shows you the volume that occurred on that day. The VPVR is interesting because it shows you the volume by price. So in other words, these pockets of volume right here tell you that VET has spent a lot of time in these areas. And markets have a way of remembering that. So when you see these high volume areas, you can bet that there are going to be a lot of bids or asks around that area. And in this case, if we look here, you can see where there's this kind of pocket of nothing right here. And the reason for that is because of this price action right here. So there's really nothing in this area until we get down towards 6 cents. Okay, so this right here is kind of the reason why I personally would not panic over a retest of 6 cents. In fact, I would kind of almost welcome it because, as I said, I think that we do need that kind of hard reset for a significant bounce into 2022. Okay, if we're going to get that move in 2022, we need some type of hard reset where the market just bottoms out hard. We get a lot of buyers that come in and move higher. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm not saying it will happen, but I would not be opposed to it. All right. And, as I mentioned, the alternative to that would be a reclaim of 8.8 cents for a move up toward 10.3. So all in all, guys, really just a sideways market here. I am keeping an eye on the 6 cent area. I think that there's a lot of confluence down here because you can also see that the VPVR just below that area, right around 5 to 6 cents. That's also where we have a lot of volume that's occurred through that area. And that's all because of this support area. Okay, so we have a horizontal level here. We have a 2018 trend line. The VPVR also, agrees with that. And we have that pocket of space, as I mentioned, between these two to where if we see VET dip below this area, we very well could get a quick move down here into the 6 cent area. And then from there, I would be looking for an aggressive bounce higher, to reclaim some of these levels. So, that's kind of how I'm approaching this right now, guys. I'm not interested in trading VET in the short term. I'm certainly not interested in shorting it, but I do have orders down around 6 cents in case we get that area here over the next few weeks. So again, if you guys like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment below, and I'll talk to you guys soon.